This is your main man, Big Business, here for another episode of Mental Health is the New Wealth. Dressed in all black today. This particular episode is dedicated to Miss Sharon Phillips. Miss Sharon Phillips had to go to the funeral today, but the reason why it's dedicated to her is because she was one of those people who you never had a negative experience or thought about. The entire time I knew her, I never had a negative interaction that I remember. And we're talking about over almost a 40-year time period. Wow. And that doesn't happen. And sometimes with positive people, it's not that they don't go through difficult things. It's that they don't wear the negative things they go through on their sleeve. It's not the first thing out of their mouth. So today we're going to talk about why it's important to be around positive people. Why it's important to be around positive people. So we're going to go ahead and get this thing started. Positive people, they're optimistic and they naturally make you feel comfortable because they make you be less stressed. They also have a contagious energy. Energy is contagious. When you're around negative people, you become more negative. When you're around optimistic people, you're going to be more optimistic because seeing is believing. If you see positive in action and you see it's working for them, you are subconsciously going to be slightly elevated in mood if you're around that enough. Okay? A cheerful attitude lifts spirits without even trying. It's a choice. It's a choice. Control the controllables. You can control your optimism. You can control how positive of a person you are. Even if you have had to overcome difficult circumstances. Some of us are afraid to show joy. I'll say it again. Some of us are afraid to show joy because you don't want to be seen or called out for being out of character. Be called something that you aren't comfortable being called or expressing something that you have not fully come to terms with. You have situations where people don't feel comfortable being overwhelmed with joy. There's a such thing as people being so happy they cry. Especially in the black community, yes, I'm going to say it. There are plenty of black men, especially older black men, who have not cried. In some cases, you're talking about years, decades. And the thing is, my own mama told me the only time she saw my grandfather cry is when she got married. And it's not to say that he never cried anywhere else. And I know what y'all thinking, again, real men don't cry. Real men bleed though. And we all bleed. So at some point, you got to understand, how hard are you going to try to be? Are you going to be so hard to where you have a heart attack, which again is one of the leading causes for black men to die, trying to hold everything in all the time? Is that safe? Is that something that is a positive choice? Holding every emotion that you have in, when it's positive or negative, is that safe? Is that what you need to do? Positive people make people feel comfortable expressing their emotions around them because they seem to be able to carry their load with joy. Not to mean it's not heavy, it just means that they seem to be able to cope better because they're more resilient, and they stay strong because it takes strength to choose to have a positive attitude. That takes strength. If you've ever seen somebody who smiles, I'm not talking about that fake smile either. I'm talking about they find the energy to greet you with the same enthusiasm because they choose to be their best self, even in difficult times. Again, that's the type of woman Miss Phillips was. Even when she was tired, she still found the energy to greet you with authenticity because she chose to make you feel like you were somebody special. Now, this is a thing where that transcends certain things. Sometimes people believe that you have to know somebody on a very intimate level in order to be impacted by the way that they live or how they choose to live. That's not always the case. Oftentimes, people remember the smallest things that are consistent about your character and demeanor. Some people, they can do it with choosing to be consistent with the right attributes and not knowing the bad attributes. All they know is what is presented as a good and consistent thing. And sometimes that can open doors for you based upon reputation, based upon character. And yes, I think when you're positive about negative or possibly negative circumstances, that's a character choice. And that it shows itself in the form of resilience, in terms of self-control. Somebody who has the ability to not use a lot of profanity in the presence of others. That's a choice. I don't think that most people walk around never have contemplated using or using frequently explicatives that may make others look at them with question. That is somebody who has chosen to present their best self at all times. Some people might call it fake, but it's not fake if it's genuine and it's a choice that you choose to live by. When people turning it off and turning it on, that's one of those things where they're trying to charm you or trying to be somebody different than they actually are. But there are people who choose to be positive, and you can tell by the stories they tell that they still have hope for the future. And it's not just based in trying to get something out of the situation. So when you're not trying to get something out of the situation and you're positive, people can tell because you're not asking for anything. That's where people who do things that are fake fall short. A person who is positive and they don't ask you for nothing, and that's their track record, they're choosing positivity. They're choosing to be a person who responds differently to adversity. And that warmth and that kindness makes you a person who is easier to confide in or approach. And there are situations based on that you can be blessed because people can feel comfortable talking to you because they see how you carry your load in terms of difficulties, adversities, and challenges. And you have chosen to rise up above those situations and present a part of yourself that's positive, even when it doesn't seem like everything is positive around you. So people who are positive, they focus on solutions and not problems. They focus on solutions instead of complaining. Anybody who complains around you a lot, you're going to get tired of them after a while. I'm not talking about where you had to vent, but realistically, venting only helps to a degree. If you're not focusing on a solution, you're focusing on the problem. So what are you focusing on? If you're not a solution-based thinker, you are looking for a pity party. You're looking for somebody who can help you solve your problems, but you're not presenting the situation. You're presenting the problem. Every problem isn't a situation. Every situation ain't a problem. When you can't solve the problem, you might need to change how you're looking at what you call in the problem. Maybe it's how you're approaching things. Maybe it's your outlook on life. Maybe you think you're owed something based on the amount of work that you put in. Maybe you think you're owed a promotion. Maybe that's the part of your focus that's wrong. Man, they owe me this. The only thing you owed in this life is death. Everything else is a blessing. And when you really understand that and indoctrinate that into your daily practice and practice gratitude, you start to believe that a lot of things that are happening in your life are not curses, they're blessings. Because it could have went a different way, but it's not your design. You didn't design the life that you're living. Somewhere there were some things that were put in front of you and you had to make some choices. And depending on those choices you made, things went right or left, but there's always that it factor. I'll call God the it factor. The factor where you could have been messed up, but somebody came in and assisted you. See, God works through people. But see, the problem is oftentimes we look at people as the problem. Well, if you're around positive people, people are not always going to be the problem. We have to start looking at things differently and choosing a more open-minded, optimistic outlook on things that we cannot control. I cannot control the weather, but I can control how I look at it. I cannot control whether or not that boss at the job place wants me to be in the it group, but I can choose how I respond to not being in the it group. Maybe you're getting a sign that you need to grow in a different direction. Maybe you need to change something about how you're presenting yourself to others. Because word travels, and we always know, just look at the news. You look at the news, the negative stuff always seems to lead the news before the positive stuff. Because people are, in some cases, addicted to what's going wrong. You will get that success story, but generally before you get the success story, there is an adversity or a struggle. The test comes before the testimony. You only generally care about certain stories when there is victory in the end and struggle at the beginning. So when you understand that that's part of the journey, you may approach these differences and difficulties in a manner of it's built for my prosperity, it's built for my betterment, it's built for my good. I have to conquer and master this level before I get to the next one. And this is not the only opportunity that will be put before me. There is another opportunity as long as I keep waking up and moving forward in a positive direction. This is what positive people do. And I'm not going to act like everybody doesn't have those weak moments. We have those weak moments, but you have to choose who you want to be every day. Do you want to be that person who's bitter about what didn't happen in the past? Or do you want to be that person who visualizes a positive future and is willing to take action steps daily and renew that commitment to waking up to improve your situation and not just complaining about where you are? Something to think about. Well, again, this one's dedicated to Miss Phillips. I know you're in the right place now, and I appreciate you being where you were as long as you were here on earth. This is your main man, Big Business. Mental health is the new wealth. Learn to be positive if you want positive things to happen in your life.